Welcome to the We Shine Well podcast, where I have real conversations with thought leaders in wellness to help you live your most vibrant, aligned, and purposeful life. I'm your host, Zoe Kelsey, founder of We Shine Well. Here, we share honest stories, gems of wisdom, and insight to spark clarity and guide your next right step, so you can shine brighter from the inside out. Now let's dive in. Today on the We Shine Well podcast, I'm joined by someone whose work brings compassion, honesty, and hope to one of the most tender journeys a woman can walk. Abbe is the founder of Fertility, a certified life coach and powerful advocate for women and couples navigating infertility. After moving through her own fertility journey, Abbe discovered her purpose in creating the kind of support she once needed. Support that honors both the medical and emotional realities of trying to build a family. Through Fertility, Abbe helps women feel less alone by breaking stigma, sharing stories, and creating community during a season that can often feel isolating and overwhelming. She brings warmth, wisdom, and humanity to conversations that are too often whispered or carried in silence. Today, we talk about infertility support, finding purpose through pain, the power of community, and what it means to hold hope while honoring your lived experience. Let's dive in. Hi, Abbe. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. You are just a wealth of knowledge and you have so much vulnerability and lived experience sharing your infertility journey and supporting so many others on their own. So thank you for being here today.
I'm so happy to be here and I'm so glad you're doing this podcast. The world needs you.
Thank you. If people haven't checked out your podcast, we'll add that to the show notes too.
Thank you.
Yes. So you have walked the path of infertility yourself. We touched on that. And when did you know you wanted to have kids? And can you share your infertility journey, what it was like and how it shaped you today?
Yeah. I think I always knew I wanted to have kids. I was really close with my mom growing up, had a very big family. It just was like for some people, it is just part of of course, you're going to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I really never thought about infertility. None of us do.
Yeah.
Although hopefully that's changing a little bit. But we don't talk ever about when you're not getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And even as we got married, we got married just around when we turned 30, a little bit older. Our friends were starting to go through infertility. And I just remember thinking, oh, thank God it's not going to be us. Our journey is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks it's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And then we started trying and we were not getting pregnant. And this went on for a while without any help. We were just doing all the things. We were timing it. I was starting to look into some woo-woo stuff of could I eat certain foods or we were going to say things like, oh, well, if we get pregnant this month, then we won't be able to travel in this month. So we're going to not try this month, right? Play it, you're just because you're and then it'll finally work and we'll be fine. Anyway, This went on for several years until finally we saw a doctor. And ultimately it was we did 4 IUIs, 4 rounds of IVF retrieval and 8 rounds of IVF transfer. So 16 rounds of treatment total.
Wow.
This was over the course of 6 years. It was really, we were told multiple times it likely wasn't going to happen for us. Mm-hmm. And it was excruciating. And I couldn't believe this was our story. I couldn't believe nothing was ever diagnosed to this day, which I have mixed feelings about. I think there's never really unexplained infertility, but we were not able to find anything, which is so frustrating sometimes because you're just I just want a way to fix, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I do have twins. They just turned 7. And I would never wish it upon anyone, but I am extremely grateful that I was able to make lemonade out of lemons and help other people as they're going through it, because that is clearly why I went through it.
Mm-hmm. And for somebody who is not familiar with what IUI is and IVF, can you
Thank you.
share what those acronyms are, what they mean, and what they entail?
Absolutely. So IUI is intrauterine insemination. It's also called the turkey baster method. It's essentially like a doctor will monitor when you're ovulating. They will give you maybe a pill to make sure you ovulate at the exact right time. They will then take the partner's sperm, wash it, get the best possible sample of sperm that they can, and re-inseminate it in you at the exact time that they think you're ovulating and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's great if you have ovulation issues, if you like it's great for lesbian couples. This is generally the way that they get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you're timing everything, you kind of don't need it that much.
Yeah.
Then something else is going on, which we learned the hard way after 4 times. I think I always tell people I really wouldn't ever do more than 2 IUIs.
Mm-hmm.
Then you bump it up to IVF. And IUI, I also say, is like the gateway drug to IVF. And
Mm-hmm.
IVF is in vitro fertilization, where everything's coming out of your body and being made in the lab to see what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
eggs are coming out, sperm is coming out, embryos are being created in a lab. Ideally, you're seeing if they grow, because with IUI, if you're just putting sperm in and hoping for the best, you still don't know. Are they fertilizing? Are they growing? Are the cells dividing? Like, we don't know what's happening. Once we
Mm-hmm.
go to IVF and we can take all the eggs out of the body and see what's happening in a petri dish, we get a lot more information.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people do it and find out once the eggs are out and they go to make embryos that they're not making embryos, that
Mm-hmm.
their particular sperm and their particular egg are not suited to fertilize, right? So there's all ways that you can then figure out what the best protocol would be, but you don't know until everything's sort of taken out and looked at where people can look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many years would you say your journey was, and what was that like emotional, physical, mind, body, soul? It, how
Yeah.
was that?
It was honestly from the time we started trying until we gave birth was a little over 6 years.
Uh-huh.
And basically I always say I gave my 30s to infertility, basically.
Uh-huh.
Um, and in the beginning, I was still kind of hopeful and optimistic. I didn't feel like infertility was going to be my story. I was
Uh-huh.
a little bit in denial, a little bit in, which I don't think is bad, like a hopeful way, like this is next month it'll happen. This was just a fluke.
Yeah.
But then when it continues to not happen, or when you're completely upping the physical, financial, and emotional toll that things are taking, so like you're spending all this money, the stakes are very high, you're putting your body through hell, perhaps fighting with your partner because you're on these hormones, right?
Uh-huh.
The emotional, right? The more in-depth treatment you do, the usually counterbalance the more in-depth the emotional toll is. And so it was very dark for a while. It was just dark times. It was, we finally had gotten pregnant once and we had a loss. That was gut-wrenching. I just assumed once you do IVF, you can't have a loss.
Uh-huh.
I thought once you do IVF, you get your baby. So the first time it didn't work, I was,
Uh-huh.
like on the floor in devastation because I was just shocked.
Uh-huh.
Um, And then by 2 years in, I mean, we were just a hot mess, and we were very angry and resentful, and no one was saying the right thing and no one was doing the right thing. And we had put every penny we had and more
Uh-huh.
into this process. And we were just like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen for us.
Uh-huh.
And it's really, if it's all you want, it's really sad. It's
Uh-huh.
really sad to try to imagine a life that you thought was going to look a certain way and what it actually looks like. Sometimes there's beauty in it, but it takes a long time to see that beauty. It just sucks for a while. And
Uh-huh.
I was really not prepared to handle that sort of disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hope can be complicated and seemingly out of reach at times in that journey. How do you encourage women that you work with to hold hope while honoring where they are right now?
It's a really good question. I'm very big on feel it till you heal it. So if you're not feeling hope, you don't have to force yourself to feel hope. If you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're just in the dregs of it, or you're angry, or you're tired, like just honor that. acknowledge it, and give yourself, sometimes I say give yourself a pity party deadline. Like, I'm going to have a pity party for 4 more days, and then I'm going to like turn this around, and
Yeah.
let yourself just be the worst version of yourself and sloth and cry and eat what you know, whatever a pity party means to you. Give yourself that time and that freedom, and then you set your deadline and you work on shifting it then. But I also say about hope, when I work with my clients, if you can't find hope in the process, I will hold the hope for you. And that is really a big part of what I do. Hope doesn't make people pregnant. And I think we get really caught up in the fertility journey and thinking that if we lose hope, we're telling the universe that we don't really want this. And I couldn't believe that that's farther from the truth.
Yeah.
I think that however you get there, you're telling the universe or God or whatever you believe in that you want to be a mother. And so if you're losing hope at some point, it's okay. Like, the hope will come back. The constant is that you want to be a parent. You want to be a mother. So I just remind people that hope isn't what gets you pregnant. And, while we often think, especially in the wellness community, your thoughts become your actions. So that gets to be very stressful. Well, if I'm thinking it's not going to work and then those are my actions, then it's not going to work. And pregnancy is a whole different ballgame. It's not, there's nothing as, like, there's no X plus Y equals Z. It's not black and white. We live in the gray area. And so you sometimes have to remember, think about all the people who are trying not to get pregnant who do. If hope were the one thing that was working, everyone would have what they wanted. So I think just acknowledging that, hope isn't what's going to make it or break it for you. Look, I want you to stay hopeful if you can. And if you can't, just don't force it.
The permission for the pity party is powerful in
Yes.
this, but also in every aspect of life. How can we give ourselves permission to just let it out, to be able to then move on?
Right, because I think we're just trained that we are not supposed to feel that. We're supposed to find our way out of it. And I just think if you don't feel through it, you're never going to really find your way out of it, So pity party, deadline, number 1.
Well, and especially as women, too, I feel like we're taught in society to just hold it all together. Everything is great. You make sure it's fine from the outside. And we kind of dove in, but I would love to just like better understand, when did you realize that your experience with infertility was leading you to your work with in-circle fertility today? And what does your work include?
Yeah, so my path to InCircle was unlikely, I would say. I never thought I would be in the reproductive or wellness space. I was like pre-law, behavioral science, which ultimately helped me. And then I went to drama school. Like, my parents were like, get a degree in something and then you can deal with the acting part. So I did. I went to drama school, and then I moved to LA, and I was really pursuing that. And I have a very big need internally to have a creative outlet. And so I was pursuing and hustling and producing and writing and all these things. And my husband's a filmmaker. We're like a total Hollywood cliche. And this was in 2018 when we were really in the depths of our fertility journey. And so we decided to grab a recorder and make what we now call a podcast. But at the time we were like, what the fuck's a podcast? Whoever listens to, right? We didn't know what they were. There were not a million of them. And there were none about infertility. And so we grabbed a recorder, and we ultimately ended up making basically an audio documentary of the last few cycles of IVF until we got pregnant. And that podcast did very well because there were none like that out there. And it had a very far reach, and ultimately it sold to Amazon. But in that time when it was out, and there was nothing else as a resource for women, so many women started reaching out to me just on Instagram, or they would leave comments and questions in the review section of the podcast. And they would just have all these questions like, do you think my husband and I are going to survive this? Do you think we should PGT test, which is genetically test our embryos? Do you have a referral for a doctor in Japan, Brazil, Texas, anywhere? And so I was just default helping all these women. And I saw this incredible gap that needed to be filled. Like, I was very lucky to have access to therapy and a super supportive family and no insurance coverage, but like credit that we could use for this, right? Ideas to get access financially. Our parents helped wherever they could. And I still wished that I had had somebody to just hold my hand and shepherd me through it and be like, you're spending too much time on this decision. It's not that important. You're not spending enough time on this decision. It is important. You and your partner need to have this conversation because you're not on the same page and you can't see it because you're in it, right?
Yeah.
Just have someone that really has an objective bird's eye view of your individual journey that's happening that can help you make decisions going forward. And I knew it was going to be something. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but ultimately that is how Encircle Fertility was born.
So today, are you that shepherd, that coach, that guide for people?
That's what I try to be. That is what I try to be. And, you know, my clients reach out. I work with people for several months at a time because,
Do you work with couples or individuals or both?
I usually work with just the woman. If it's a hetero, it's almost always, I've only ever worked with one same-sex couple and it was two women. Actually, that's not true. Two same-sex couples, both women, because the expectation for fertility treatment is completely different, right? If you're two women, you know that you're going to need assisted reproductive technology to have your child.
Yeah.
If you're a hetero couple, it's much more of a shock or a slap in the face or a disappointment. And so that's who usually seeks support from me. And I leave it to the person who's booked the package with me. If they want to bring their partner into the conversation, they can. But each package comes with like a certain amount of Zoom minutes a month, but it's really a lot of texting, which is, I think, the beauty of it, because therapy is amazing. But if it's not like 4:00 Thursday and you're having an embryo crisis, who do you call, right? Who do you text? And so it's really a lot of those kinds of freak out in the moment conversations. And then there are times where the couple is at a crossroads and they just need an objective place to talk about it. The beauty of being a coach and not a therapist is that one, I can see multiple people at once. Two, they can be anywhere in the country or in the world. And three, I can weigh in a little bit more and give my opinion as opposed to like working with them for them to figure out what they need. Both are wonderful and valid, but sometimes you just need somebody to be like, look, what are my options? And I don't feel like you always get that with therapy. You know, a lot of times when I see the couples, it's with secondary infertility, which is when you had no trouble the first time having your first child, and then all of a sudden you're going through hell to get your second child. And it's a very niche, specific kind of hurt and pain. And the generalization that I find is that the woman is just like 100% committed to having a second child. And the man, again, super generalization, is like, I don't get it. We have one. Why can't you be happy? And so I think that's most of the time when I see couples. But when it's just, you know, somebody's primary or first time going through treatment, it tends to just be the woman. I don't even know if I originally answered. Did I answer your original question? I don't even know if I did.
You did. You did.
Okay,
you were
good.
telling me all about Encircle Fertility.
Yes, yes.
What are the rates of infertility these days? And like when people do IUI, IVF, what are those rates as well to get pregnant and even naturally?
Yeah. You know, it's a really good question because the numbers are very scary and they are, but you have to look at them in context. So, for example, one scary thing, when I was going through infertility, which my journey ended in 2018 when I had my babies, 1 in 8 people in the world were diagnosed with infertility. Now, only 7 years later, 1 in 6 people are diagnosed. And in the United States, 1 in 5, meaning it's more common here than in the rest of the world. We look at why that is. Part of it is insurance options. People don't pursue it as much. Part of it is toxins. Part of it is how we eat, right? We can look at all of these things. But that's really scary to think, like, you go to a dinner with your girlfriends and there's 5 of you at a table, at least one of you is going to go through this, right? But then with IUI, I think the number they give you is like, it'll up your chances by I have to think because I haven't looked at IUI numbers in a while. Basically, you're not ever looking at 100%. It's because if you were, what you'd be looking at is every month that you try to have a baby, you have a 100% chance of having a baby. We all know that's not true.
Yep.
So then they'll say, okay, this will up your chances by like 25%. That's a big number. So you think 25%, that's nothing. 25% is really big because once you move on to IVF, you're only looking at upping it maybe 10 or 15% chance, maybe 20% chance. So the numbers help significantly, but sometimes you're just the person on the wrong side of the statistic and the statistic is irrelevant, right? I think it's something like 67% of first rounds of IVF fail. That was shocking to me. That means only 33% work. I was just like, oh, 100% of cycles of IVF must work because once you do it, you're guaranteed a baby and you're just really not. And I think it is helpful to know those statistics because I was like 67% of first time IVFs don't work. I wish I'd known that.
Yeah. And the context behind all of those numbers
and the
too,
context.
because those can
Exactly.
be scary too.
Exactly.
So if you were going back to your early 30s, what would you have recommended to yourself then to support your fertility?
I would have frozen eggs for sure. I think everyone I know that's gone through IVF who has a daughter is like at their 21st birthday, they're going to freeze their eggs because we've all had such trauma. The reality is like eggs weren't necessarily my problem, but it would have been really nice to know I had them should it have become a problem. And it would have saved me ultimately a lot of money down the road and having to do more and more retrievals. I would have hired a coach had I known they existed for sure. There's just so like it's very hard to trust your gut when you're going through IVF and you're on all these hormones and the stakes are so high and you're really depressed or really scared and it's hard to see what resonates inside. You can't trust your gut. And so I wished I'd had somebody that could really shepherd me through that. I wished that I thought in some ways of a worst case scenario. And I know that sounds so pessimistic, but like I go through a lot of changing doctors with people because they think they have a great doctor and they're a lot of my clients come to me and they're like, we cared only about the numbers. We cared only about this doctor's success rates. Well, great. But when you're not on the side of the success rate and you need to get bad news, how is he going to deliver that news? Is it going to be kind? Is it going to be patient? Are you going to be able to go in and have an appointment with him to go through what happened? Or is he going to put you on like a 1-month wait list until the next appointment's open? So you don't want to think these negative things are going to happen to you. But at the same time, you sort of want to know that if they are going to happen to you, what do you need emotionally in order to feel held in those moments by your fertility team? I was very lucky. I ended up switching. I've been in 2 different clinics. I left my first clinic not because he did anything wrong. He was incredible and wonderful. And like, if we were depressed about something, he would open 30 minutes early at like 6:30 in the morning just to talk to us so that we didn't have to wait. I mean, that's very rare.
Yeah.
My second doctor was incredible. I just felt like I needed new energy. So for me, I was lucky. I didn't even know how bad some of the stuff is out there. Clients that I work with, I'm just shocked sometimes at the things that they deal with. You know, specifically a lot of times when a client has a miscarriage, they can't talk directly with their doctor until like the next 6 weeks when they're put on the wait list for the next appointment. And that's just not right. It's just not right. We talk in the medical field a lot about self-advocacy and women just accept that because they think that's how it's supposed to be. And they don't know that they could say, I cannot wait 6 weeks. I must meet with you before then. Like we always call it the WTF appointment, like WTF happened, right? And if that doesn't work for you, like permission to change doctors, permission to know there's a better option out there that you didn't imagine this worst case scenario was going to happen, but now it did. And you need to be taken care of differently. If you're dealing with 8,000 things out there, make this one as easy on yourself as you possibly can, you know? So I got lucky. Like, I don't have to go back and say, I wish I would have chosen a different doctor. Right? Because that didn't happen to me. But that's what I would tell a young 30-something woman who's looking to do treatment is really, in fact, one of the things that I offer on my website, I can send you the link to link out to it, is
Yeah.
like a cheat sheet Q&A for your first fertility appointment for doctors, because
Mhm.
this is from working with hundreds of women and knowing the things that you have to ask that might feel uncomfortable. I'd rather you ask when you're interviewing them than feeling something horrible and going through something terrible and then having to ask, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I'd be interested in what a sneak peek of that is, as well as like when a couple is at the early stages of choosing, I'm going to go about IUI or IUF or IVF.
Mhm.
What is that team or crew or support when it comes to their health, but also their providers and coaches that you recommend equipping themselves with on the journey?
Yeah. So most of the time, a lot of the time, what ends up happening is you have to sort of come to your doctor with ideas.
Mm,
If you've been through it for a while, if you're just starting out, it's much lighter, lighter stakes, more standard protocols. But like in a dream world, you're like, look, my husband and I need IVF. I'm going to get a doctor, a fertility coach, an acupuncturist, a therapist, and maybe a nutritionist. We're going to all work together. They're going to all work together. We're all going to figure out what's best for me, my body, my family. That's not at all how it works. But
yeah.
we try to come as close to that as we possibly can. Now, it's hard these days because there's Reddit forums and Google forums, right? And people are like,
Uh-huh.
you should ask your doctor this the minute you interview them for IVF. And like your doctor might say, that's ridiculous. You don't need to do that yet. Well, this is why you need those other people on your team, because is it
Mhm.
ridiculous? Or for your body, might you need whatever that thing is?
Mhm.
Um, which is why it's also, I think, helpful to look for a doctor who's open to these other modalities of support.
Mhm.
I mean, doctors love it when they get patients who are working with me because it saves them time. They know that their person's going to be taken care of. And ultimately, it should lead to faster and better outcomes because they're having the emotional
Mhm.
support that they need. But I've had plenty of times where, like, an acupuncturist had said to me, you need to ask your doctor about X, Y, or Z. And if I hadn't had that acupuncturist, I wouldn't have known to ask. So
Mhm.
I think if you can build that team, it's so important. We always say it takes a village to raise a baby, but I think it takes a village to make a baby. And I just want you to build your village, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. And how do you find a good doctor?
Such a good question. I mean, so much is dependent on where you live. That's just the truth. But I think, you know, I, not to like self promote, but number one way, come to my website, get that paper, and bring it to any and all doctors that you want to work with. I think
Mhm.
there's a great site called Fertility IQ, which
Mhm.
is a really good database with really solid evidence and patient stories, all kinds of anecdotal data about different doctors. And I find it really kind of the only one I trust out there that's crowdsourced.
Mhm.
Crowdsourcing so hard because one person just might get set off one day and have a horrible, make a horrible review, right? But this one's
Yeah.
pretty robust with all the different goods and bads that can happen. So I'd say look at Fertility IQ. Definitely ask around. But again, right, ask if you have my document, right? It'll say, so there's two different experiences. There's a clinic experience and a doctor experience. Sometimes
Mhm.
the clinic is a total shit show, but the
Mhm.
doctor's amazing. So you'll
Yeah.
deal with the shit show to have the amazing doctor, right?
Mhm.
You don't think about that. You assume if you're picking the best doctor, the clinic's going to be great too.
Yeah.
So let's say I come to you and I'm like, you've done 4 rounds of IVF. Who should I go to? And this person, your friend says, you have to go to Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob is the absolute best. No, like absolutely no question. So you make your appointment with Dr. Bob, but you don't know that Dr. Bob's clinic is always running an hour late. And you
Mm.
have a job where like you have to make your appointments at a very specific time. Otherwise, right, this becomes stressful for you to get your
Yeah.
appointments at, right? You can't go to a clinic where Dr. Bob is an hour late. You need to find somebody where the clinic has their stuff together and you don't have
Mhm.
to wait, right?
Yeah.
These are all these little things that we don't think about until they're happening to us. And so anybody
Mhm.
that can have foresight in giving you that information, I think is so helpful.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm a big believer in like, I don't believe in decision fatigue. So
Mhm.
I see a lot of women interview like 9 doctors.
Yeah.
And that's just too much information for me. Like,
Yeah.
I can't, that's just too much to have to sort through. And
Mhm.
what I find is like, it's their type A looking at this again as like black and white data. Well, let me just take the facts from each doctor and make my little spreadsheet. And no, like, that's not what's going to get you through this process. You really have to
Mhm.
see who you have chemistry with, resonate with. You like the way they talk to you, you like the way they treat you.
Yeah.
For me, I never once looked at their stats. Didn't even
Yeah.
occur to me to look at their statistics.
Mhm.
Honestly, it didn't, because I'm like, it doesn't matter. It matters what happens with me. It doesn't matter what happens
Mhm.
with everybody else that's going to be seeing them, you know?
Yeah. And what is that client doctor relationship too? How are they going to deliver
That's
information? And that
exactly.
even supports your nervous system in like the whole fertility journey and process and easing more decisions too.
Exactly. And also, like, what is your access to your doctor going to be? Because both of my doctors, when I went through it, gave me their cell phone numbers, which is crazy and amazing. And like, I was very spoiled and lucky.
Mhm.
Sometimes, not only do you not get their cell phone number, you don't get a direct email. You only can go through the portal, whatever the portal might be. The
Yeah.
portal might only be read by nurses. The nurse then brings it to the doctor, and then they have to wait for an answer. And you're like, my question was so important. Why is nobody getting back to me? Well, nobody's getting back to you because it had to go through all these channels, and the nurse is waiting to hear back from the doctor, and she can't get back to you until the doctor's out of surgery, and the surgery is going till 5 o'clock. And why are they calling you? And you get all tripped up in your head.
Mhm.
And if they're not responding, it must be bad news. But you don't think about that when you're just starting out. You're just like, oh, and I have something that they need to tell me, they'll call me. And
Mhm.
that's just not the way the medical teams work anymore. None of them, not just infertility, all of them. You know, they
Yeah.
all have these like portals and gatekeepers, and it's important to think about.
And there's such an emotional reality and component to it too that affects so much more than our bodies. What do you wish
Yes.
people better understood about the emotional experience of infertility, both for couples experiencing infertility and those with loved ones experiencing infertility?
So I think you have to go in thinking that everything is going to take longer than you want it to, because
Mm,
that will temper your expectations right off the bat.
mhm,
We expect, right, every minute you're not pregnant when you want to be feels like an eternity. So
mhm,
you expect you're going to go to your appointment and things are going to get moving, right? And a lot of times that doesn't happen. You have to be prepared for that. There's a certain surrender that just has to take place in regards to the timeline.
yep,
And I hate to preach about that because it's so much easier said than done. And I know that. But if you can remind yourself to surrender to the timeline, I think that really bolsters emotional flexibility in a way that, like, if you're so caught up on the exact date that something needs to happen, you're pretty much always going to be disappointed, I find.
mhm, yeah,
Um, as far as others and how to support loved ones going through infertility, this is one of the things I could stand on a soapbox for hours and talk about, because after going through it for 6 years, there were so many things that people did with the best intentions, with pure love, that were horrible.
mhm,
Um, and so what I say is, like, this is the perfect time to learn in a lesson in showing up for your people.
mm, mhm,
Showing up literally means showing up. It means I'm not gonna be scared to have the awkward conversation. So that might look like, I really don't want to bring this up because I'm guessing if you had good news, you would tell me. But last time we talked, you were doing treatment, and I just want you to know I've been thinking about you. And if you do want to
mm,
talk about it, I'm here. So many of us
mhm,
are so scared to say that to our people, right? Because they're like, I don't want to
yeah,
bring it up. They're gonna be more sad. But
mhm,
we feel it. We feel it when you don't bring it up with us. And it's hard
yeah,
for us to be going through it and also have to say what we need emotionally from you.
mhm, yeah.
Like, a lot of people think if they say, hey, keep me posted, that they're like doing the perfect form of showing up. Like, no, because then you're giving the person who's going through this problem
Mhm.
the onus of having to keep you updated and follow up, and it shouldn't fall on them.
Yeah,
So
and
I
it's
think,
both.
like, have the awkward conversations and be available to listen, or to just drop off dinner or ice cream or whatever it might be. Like, so many little things. Just the thinking of you text can go such a long
Mhm,
way, you know?
mhm. And it's both that holding space and giving them the option to share if they feel like it.
Exactly.
Because even if you
Exactly.
think about whatever infertility or whatever hard situation you're going through, some people are just like, they're going through a hard time. I'm just not going to reach out. But it's like
Exactly.
that thinking of you, that holding space is like, okay, I feel seen even if I don't want to share.
Yes. And that just is so important. Like you said, for your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
It's regulatory. Right,
Mm-hmm.
feeling held by somebody else does calm down your nervous system. And so
Yeah.
like you're helping your friends when you check in, even if you think you're not. The worst thing that can happen is they're going to be like, I don't want to talk about it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're never going to say I don't want to talk about it and you're an a-hole for bringing it up.
Yeah.
That's never going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. I mean, I hope not.
Yeah. And I mean, so many women are carrying their journey quietly or alone, and it can be so isolating. Why do you think fertility holds so much stigma, and how can we rewrite that conversation?
Yeah, I think, I can tell at least from experience, I didn't want to tell people right away that we were going through it because I really wanted the element of surprise of like announcing that we're pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will tell you now, I freaking hate pregnancy announcements still, and my children are 7. Like, that was probably the most lingering trauma of my entire journey. I still hate them because somebody announces and I'm like, were they planning it? Was it IVF? Do they have other kids? Were they on a timeline? Was
Mhm.
it on time? Right? I can't help
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
And I wanted there to be that element of surprise where I could tell my friends we're expecting.
Mhm.
But then it actually started to feel really heavy to be carrying it, much like you said.
Yeah.
It felt so isolating. It felt like a full-time job just to keep it inside and like not forget to, oh, I can't mention this, that I have a doctor's appointment and I can't, right? That felt so hard. And so I
Mhm.
just released that and started opening up about it. And this was again before people were really talking about it at all. And I just encourage every person is entitled to share or not share what they want about their journey.
Mhm.
But when it starts to feel harder to keep it private, part of me feels like you should just tell people, even if it's just a couple close people, so that you have someone that you can vent to or talk to about it, or say, I'm supposed to go to this dinner and nobody there knows that I'm going through this, but you do. And so I just want to call you and tell you how freaking scared I am to see them. You need your
Mhm.
people. And it
Yeah.
can't always be your partner because you guys are going through stuff together and maybe differently. And you need outside
Mhm.
external support systems. You cannot just rely on each other. It's a lot.
Yeah. And just like in that vein too, how do you help guide clients to determine who they do tell, who they don't tell, with those boundaries, and when they might even share that pregnancy announcement?
Yeah. I mean, I basically, again, not to look at a worst case scenario, but I try to look at the negative impact of a situation in order to figure out the positive impact. So
Mhm.
I would say, somebody who says, "Ugh, if I tell my mother we're going through this, she's going to constantly drive me crazy." Well, let's talk about that. What would that look like for her to drive you crazy? Is it she's going to ask this? She's going to buy baby gifts before you're even pregnant? Is it right? And if that sounds horrible, we're not going to do that, and we're just not going to tell her.
Yep.
But if you're like, well, she's going to drive me crazy, well, is there a way you could say to her, I'm telling you this for information, not for you to check in on me? Would she
Mhm.
respect that? Well, then that doesn't sound so horrible. So maybe we do tell her.
Yeah.
And by the way, much like everything in this journey, like permission to always pivot. You might decide you want to tell everybody. And this, again, happened to me. I got so sick of hiding it, I had to come out with it. And then I got so sick of everybody being like, did it work? Didn't you have treat? Right? And I would want
Uh-huh.
to like punch them in the face. And I was like, you know what? Thank you. I'll let you know when there's anything that I need to tell you. Again, best of intentions. They thought they're doing the right thing. So it requires a certain level of emotional strength that is very unfortunate. I wish that it didn't. But you have to remember that like you're the driver of your experience. And so if you want it
Mhm.
to be a certain way and feel a certain way, as honest and forthcoming as you can be with the people who love you is going to support you ultimately in the end.
Mhm. Well, and like connection can be everything in those hard seasons too.
Yeah.
So how have you seen community support just women's journeys through fertility as well, like coming together as women that are trying to get pregnant?
It's incredible. There's, they say worst club, best members, and that is what the general feeling is. So I do my one-on-one coaching, but I also have a group program. It's just like a once a week group coaching, nothing in between, no texting, no communication. We just show up, we do like rapid fire coaching, and we see what everyone needs. And the majority of the people in that group have all been in that group with me for several months now, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like a family to each other. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they are, and I don't facilitate that piece of it at all. I just show up weekly like my contract says I'm going to and do the coaching. But they want the best for each other. They champion each other. Every single time we meet, they're like, nobody gets it. Nobody gets it except you guys. Nobody gets it. So I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's really important to find those kind of people. And I've also worked with clients that hate talking about it in groups, that hire me so that they have the person that they can vent to about it because they hate, crowdsourcing or asking for other people's opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you have to find your connection in different ways. They found it through me. I would refer them to an acupuncturist. And by the
Mm-hmm.
way, the doctor rule of how to find your doctor also goes for acupuncture. Certain
Mm-hmm.
acupuncturists are not for everybody. Certain acupuncturists are very by the book and just want to like not talk to you and just do needles and herbs and you come and go. Some want to like hear your family history and recommend an herbalist and right. You don't know what you need until you need it. And
Yeah.
so I've even seen acupuncturists build community within their own clients. Like, hey, I have a
Mm-hmm.
client going through this. You have a client going through this. Do you think we should connect them? And sometimes we will.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen just beautiful friendships develop from this journey. And when you think about it, they say that infertility is as stressful as cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's cancer, right? Everyone in the chemo room, you hear of these stories like they stayed friends for so much longer after the chemo room. Like you are going through this battle together. There is
Mm-hmm.
something extremely bonding about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's also there's so much power in community and that depth and vulnerability of just like not feeling so alone in your journey as well. Too. Like
Right.
even I mean, I'm sure there are women that you work with that might not even be telling other people that they're in these groups yet. So it's like that safe space to fully be seen and loved and like known for
Yes.
what they're going through.
Right. Just be allowing to really be yourself and not have to hide
Mhm.
any part of this is huge. I mean, and that's what's beautiful about your community because you put people together who share that same goal for the people they work with, right?
Mhm.
I want my clients, the people in your community want their clients to all feel like fully seen as themselves, which is extremely
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah. Well, even quick plug, like Sasha Hackman, she's an incredible reproductive
Yes.
fertility doctor that has so much information and knowledge to share just on the entire journey from a doctor's perspective, but also bringing that like meeting where you are perspective. And I know you're going to be on her podcast too.
Yes. And she also is somebody who I have switched several clients from other doctors and sent them to Dr. Hackman because she's the full package and she has the medical piece and the emotional piece down and she's been through it. That's another thing. Like now that there are so many more women, female fertility doctors out there, you can find somebody that's been through it. And that is like gold because they really get
Mhm.
what you're going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Dr. Hackman is just like an incredible source of information, and anybody can message her on Instagram and she'll get back to you.
Mhm.
That access is unreal. Like that wasn't around when I was going through this. And
Mhm.
just knowing that's there is
Yeah.
like such a relief to your body, to know that
Mhm.
there's like when you have a question, you have somebody that you can reach out to ask.
Mhm. Yeah. And we've talked about the crew that you have to support you on the beginning of your journey, the group coaching. What do you most often see as those gaps in that support and in treatment for couples that are navigating infertility?
I think the gaps that I see the most are when one of the two in the couple is getting a ton of support and the other one's not getting any.
Mhm.
Um, I find that the person who needs the support is looking to, like, I'm just going to use husband and wife because it keeps it simple here. The wife is getting a ton of support, the husband isn't. The husband doesn't know how to handle everything exactly how the wife needs. And he wants to talk about it and express his frustrations. And she's like, well, I can't take that in because I'm dealing with my own stuff. You need to find support. And he doesn't, or he can't, or he doesn't know where
Mhm.
to turn. There's a lot of tension in those sort of relationships, I find.
I was just going to say, and how do you kind of bridge that gap of having them both
Yeah.
be on the same page?
So we will then do like, I'll be like, why don't you bring your husband to one of our talks? And we can just do like a 15-minute. That's like, you can each feel safe to say, well, she's not giving me this and I need it, and he's not giving me that and I need it. And then I'm not a couples therapist, and then I'm not a therapist at all, but like you can have a neutral place for us to talk out. Well, what would make you feel like this? Like, then the wife can say, like, in a very safe space, it would be really helpful for me if you could talk to John Joe about this because he's been through it and he's your friend and you need to talk to somebody who's not me. Or
Mhm.
the wife can say, it'd be really helpful if you can freaking go to therapy.
Yeah.
Or it'd be really helpful if we can get a couples therapist. Sometimes you just need that objective person to be there to witness this in order for you to move forward. So I try to bridge the gap that way. And I'm really big on boundary setting on both sides. So like if sitting with your girlfriends who all have kids is going to break you for a weekend, like don't do it. But
Mhm.
let's find something that's not going to break you, that's going to make your cup feel full, whatever that might be.
Mhm.
Because this is really freaking hard and you deserve
Mhm.
support.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like having that practitioner support team, making sure to
Yes.
interview them, having your group of supportive people and making sure you're on the same page with your couple or with your partner and having those boundaries where it does make sense.
Yeah.
'Cause when you're already in such a vulnerable and emotional place.
It's really crucial. And I think it's normalized in so many other arenas. Like when you become a mother, no one judges you for having a lactation consultant or a sleep trainer or a postpartum doula. They used to judge you for that, but like we've normalized it. So let's also normalize having this team of people that are helping you become a mother, you know?
Yeah. What spurs you on and lights you up to continue to do this impactful work that you do?
I mean, you should see me when I get a text that like one of my babies was born. I call them my babies. They're not my babies at all. But
How
like
many
when one of
babies
my
have you
clients,
had?
I've had a lot of babies. I need to do a count, but I've had a lot of babies. Um, I am just a hot mess. Like I send them photos of me like crying and they say things to me, and again, I'm not just tooting my own horn. Because I've been there, I know that this sort of support would have changed everything for me. And they say,
Mhm.
like, I wouldn't be a family without you. Or, which, okay,
Mhm.
it's dramatic, right? They've just given birth, so give them a little leeway. But, like,
Yeah.
of course, eventually they might become a family, but, like, they're so grateful and complimentary. And I keep them all in, like, little screenshots in my phone in a folder for when I'm
Oh.
feeling down about something totally unrelated. To be
Mhm.
able to remember that I get to help people with this is really an honor, truly.
Mhm. How is it for you finding out that you were pregnant with your twins and seeing them once you gave birth?
Well, a little bit of a dark part of my story is that, and I'll keep it brief, is that I ultimately got pregnant with 3 babies and had to
Mhm.
reduce from 3 to 2,
Mhm.
which I am totally fine with. I was fine at the time. I'm like, okay, if 3 are in there, chances of having 1 is pretty good.
Mhm.
But I was 39 and they didn't want me to deliver triplets at 40. I mean, thank God I was not prepared to have triplets. And
Yeah.
the chances of losing all 3 are very high if you keep all 3.
Mhm.
And so it was a no-brainer for me. I'm going to reduce and I'm going to hope that 2 stay, and if 2 don't stay, then I get 1. Great.
Mhm.
So it was kind of a weird numbers game in my head. But I didn't tell people that I was pregnant when I had 3 because I knew I was going to go to 2. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to say I'm pregnant with twins because I wasn't sure that 2 were going to survive the reduction. I
Mm.
wasn't sure anything was going to survive, right? Like
Yeah.
the fear of a shoe dropping after you've been through loss, like infertility after loss and pregnancy after infertility are very traumatic. And so
Yeah.
once I had my reduction and I got confirmation that the 2 remaining embryos, fetuses at that point were healthy, I told immediate family. I mean, and they had been on this journey with us for so many years. Like they were all a hot mess and it was incredible.
Yeah. I have
Um,
chills.
I know. I mean, I'll never forget, like we told a bunch of people on Father's Day, like my uncle and my stepdad and like all these people. And they almost didn't believe us because it had been they were like, what? Like, cause we
Mhm.
were kind of just like, yeah, everyone's telling us it's not going to happen. Like we're talking to surrogates. Like maybe I don't know. So that was incredible. However, I didn't I'm very active on social media. I posted nothing about my pregnancy. Nothing.
Mhm.
I would run into people on the street and they would see me like huge and they were like, "What? You're pregnant? We didn't see this at all." And I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
too scared to put it on social.
Mm,
And I also like there's a weird survivor's guilt that happens. I felt like I had
yeah.
bonded so much with the infertility community and here I was leaving it to become a mom. That
Mhm.
was a really weird identity shift for me. I didn't really believe they were both going to be here until they physically were in this earth, on this earth, like truly.
Mhm.
And then you become a parent and there's a whole new slew of things to worry about. Like, are they breathing? Are they eating
Yeah.
enough? You know, it's a whole
Mhm.
different set of worry.
Mhm. How is it being a mom for you today?
You know, it took me a while to get into my stride of being a mom, much more so than I thought it would, because you think like I wanted this for so long. I'm going to just instinctively know what to
Mhm.
do and how to do it and not judge myself if I do it wrong. But like, it's hard. Being a
Mhm.
mom is way harder than I thought it was going to be, truly. Yes,
Yeah.
I have twins, so that's like a whole nother level of stuff. But it's also, everyone's like, it's hard, but it's like the best in the world. Of course, it's the best in the world. But I find delight in much smaller things than I thought I would. Like just when my kid comes home from school and tells me something that happened to them that was funny or that
Mhm.
like I don't think is that funny, but they think it's hilarious. And just like watching them laugh, I look
Mhm.
at them and I'm like, I literally, you are a person that has an opinion about something funny that like wouldn't exist if I hadn't gone through all of this. And it's like those
Mhm.
little moments that really get me. And
Yeah.
it's just the best thing ever, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I don't have kids yet, and I don't feel like I can ever fully relate to a mother because your brain literally shrinks and expands to
I
like
know.
make room for more knowledge that you need to know. And I have so many friends, and it's like there's nothing like that bond. And as I've gotten older, I just like have so much more respect and appreciation for my mom and my parents too. Like
Same.
I was an IUI baby, and it took her like
Oh,
5
nice.
years. So
Oh, and
like
you have
she was
siblings too, though, right? You have siblings.
I have a brother, yeah.
Is he
Mhm.
younger or
He
older?
was natural, yeah, after
Oh,
he's
okay.
younger.
After.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, your family's amazing. For shout out to your family if they're listening. Like Zoe's, like all her events are Team Zoe. They all are like lovingly on board with smiles and like they're just great. I love your family.
Well, thank you. I've recruited them. You'll see them
Yes.
at the summit in May again, so
Perfect.
don't you
Perfect.
worry. Um, but yeah, it's life is such a journey, and I truly believe too that we wouldn't be who we are today without being where we are, and it sounds like you would definitely not be where you are
Right.
today without being on this journey that you've
Isn't that
had.
crazy? I know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like it's really hard in hindsight to be like, it all worked out for the best, but it does feel really like it was my path that I was meant to be on. And just to circle it all back to like acting, I have my podcast, right? My first podcast, like we're done.
Yeah.
It was a 12 episodes documentary. We had our babies, moved on.
Mhm.
But this, my current podcast, Women's Wellness with Abbe Feeder, is really a creative outlet for me. And it makes me feel like I'm not missing anything from my acting days or acting world.
Mhm.
And I could talk to anyone, like because I've been to drama school and I've been to speech class, and I do feel like those skills still help me. And I ended up
Mhm.
getting a degree in behavioral science, which turns out to be more useful than I thought it was going to be. And so, in some weird way, it feels like it was all leading up to this, even though we can only connect the dots looking backwards. You know?
Yeah, it's all like the divine orchestration and timing of it all coming together to be able to serve in your life's purpose as well, which is powerful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. So, just wrapping up, what is one truth or reminder you want everyone listening to take with them today? No matter if they're experiencing infertility and on their journey or they have a loved one that might be going through it.
A cliche that I like to think about a lot is a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And that
Mhm.
goes for medical treatment you're going through, friendships, relationships. It's a really nice way to put things in perspective sometimes. Everything is either happening for a reason, just a season, or for your lifetime. And I think you can react accordingly based on which one of those you can identify. And that goes
Mhm.
for like, of course, IVF, it's a season, right? And so my friendships that were really tested during that time I thought those friendships were for a lifetime, but they turned out just to be for a season. Or vice versa, people I met along the way I thought would be just for my infertility season have remained lifetime friends. And so it helps you prioritize. It helps you know where to put your energy, because our energy is always being pulled in multiple directions. And so sometimes I literally just have to say to myself, a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and go accordingly.
Perspective is definitely key
Everything.
and powerful. So
Yes.
where can listeners work with you, connect with you, and start working with you?
Yeah, so my company is In Circle Fertility. You can find me anywhere. Google it, Instagram it, LinkedIn it, YouTube it. My podcast is Women's Wellness with Abbe Feeder, and my other Instagram handle is Abbe Feeder, which I'm sure we'll link. And I respond to everything everywhere all at once. So you can message me to any of those, and like anyone that wants to grab a free 15-minute chat, see if I can help lighten the load for you. I would love to be able to help.
Amazing. We'll link everything in the show notes, including what to ask your doctor when you go to your appointment. And this has just been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time, being here, and sharing your wisdom and your journey.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you for tuning in to the We Shine Well podcast. If today's conversation lit something up in you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, leave us a review, and dive deeper each week by subscribing to our Substack in the show notes to interact with guests and discover more resources to expand you. Until next time, keep trusting your right next step and keep shining, my friend.